There is something women never say out loud. They don't tell their daughter. They don't mention it to their closest friend. They don't bring it up at the doctor's office, not with those words. They feel it. They know it. They carry it in silence. It is a particular kind of shame, the kind that makes a woman step back before someone gets too close, the kind that makes her avoid long hugs, skip social gatherings, check her clothes repeatedly throughout the day with that quiet, sinking feeling in her chest. I am talking about intimate odor, and what I am about to tell you will completely change the way you understand this problem. In the vast majority of cases, this odor does not come from a serious illness. It does not come from poor hygiene. And it is not your fault in the way you think it is. It comes from habits. Simple, everyday habits that you are likely doing right now, inside your bathroom, every single day, without knowing that you are feeding the very problem that causes you the most shame. Stay until the end, because what you are going to discover here is what doctors should be explaining during appointments, but almost never do. I have followed many cases over the years, and what stayed with me most was never the diagnosis itself. It was the expression on women's faces the moment they understood that the problem had a concrete cause, an identifiable cause, a correctable one. There was relief, but also something that looked like grief. The grief of years spent living with something, suffering quietly, when a solution had existed all along. Women in their 60s, 70s, 80s, women who had raised families, built careers, survived losses, crossed entire decades of life, being quietly undone by something happening in their bathroom in less than 10 minutes a day, and the common thread between almost all of them was the same. Nobody had ever explained how the female body changes after menopause, and what those changes demand in terms of daily care. So let's start there, because understanding what is happening inside the body is the first step toward setting the shame aside and looking at the problem clearly. With the onset of menopause and the progressive decline of estrogen, the vaginal flora undergoes a deep and silent transformation. The beneficial bacteria that once naturally inhabited this region, primarily lactobacilli, responsible for maintaining an acidic, protective pH, begin to decrease in both number and strength. The environment that was once naturally hostile to harmful microorganisms gradually becomes more vulnerable. The pH rises, the mucosa thins, natural lubrication decreases, the capacity for cellular renewal slows down. This is not a failure of the body. It is a documented biological transition, studied and understood by medicine. But it is precisely in this new context that certain habits, ones that previously passed without major consequences, begin to carry a completely different weight. The body of a woman after 60 does not respond the same way as the body of a woman at 30, and the bathroom, that space so ordinary, so routine, becomes the place where these habits unfold every day, silently, causing damage that only surfaces later, in the form of an odor nobody wants to name. The first habit is also the most underestimated: staying in damp underwear for an extended period of time. It sounds too minor to be a real problem, but the evidence says otherwise. Constant moisture creates a warm, enclosed environment. Exactly what anaerobic bacteria and fungi need to grow. After 60, the skin of the intimate area is thinner, with reduced natural defenses, and any microbial imbalance can take hold quickly. Here is something that is rarely discussed openly. Mild to moderate urinary incontinence affects a significant number of women in this age group. Small losses of urine when coughing, sneezing, or laughing, and the underwear becomes damp. Many women stay that way for hours, out of habit, out of embarrassment, not wanting to draw attention to it. That window of time is enough for the microbial environment to shift. The odor that develops is not the odor of uncleanliness. It is the odor of bacterial fermentation in warm, damp fabric. The solution is not complicated. Change underwear as soon as there is any moisture, use breathable panty liners when needed, and choose cotton fabrics that allow air circulation. A small adjustment, a significant difference. If what you are hearing right now is making sense to you, I want to ask you something before we go further. Subscribe to this channel and leave a comment below telling me where you are watching from. Just your city, your state, your country. That comment means more than you know, and it helps me understand that this kind of information is reaching the people who need it most. Because that is exactly why this channel exists. To bring you what medicine knows, presented clearly and without judgment. The second habit is one that many women learned incorrectly in childhood and that nobody ever corrected: the direction of wiping after using the toilet. Wiping from back to front, from the anus toward the vulva, is one of the most common and most silently harmful errors that exists. This motion carries intestinal bacteria, particularly Escherichia coli, into a region where they should not be. In a younger body with stronger local defenses, this might pass without visible consequences. In the body after menopause, with an altered pH and a reduced flora, this cross-contamination can trigger bacterial infections, bacterial vaginosis, and, yes, odor. The correct direction is always front to back with clean paper for each wipe. It sounds basic, but it is in the habits that seem most basic where the most consequential mistakes tend to hide. The third habit is one that the personal hygiene industry helped create and that doctors are increasingly struggling to correct: the overuse of scented soaps and fragranced products on the intimate area. There is an enormous market of heavily scented intimate washes, perfumed wipes, and floral sprays, all promising freshness, all promising to eliminate odor. And what happens in practice is the opposite. The chemical compounds in those fragrances alter the local pH, destroy both harmful and protective bacteria, and leave the mucosa irritated and exposed. After 60, with the mucosa already more delicate due to the hormonal shift, this chemical disruption has faster and more lasting consequences. Bacterial vaginosis, one of the leading causes of unpleasant intimate odor, is frequently associated with the inappropriate use of fragranced products. The intimate area has its own self-cleaning mechanisms. What it needs is warm water and, at most, a fragrance-free intimate wash with a balanced pH, used sparingly and only on the external area. Fewer products, more balance. The fourth habit appears harmless but has a direct impact on pelvic floor health and local circulation: spending too long sitting on the toilet. Many women have turned bathroom time into a moment of rest. They bring their phones, scroll, and stay for 15 or 20 minutes. The problem is that sitting on the toilet for an extended period creates unnecessary pressure on the perineal region, can impair local venous return, and contributes to the progressive weakening of the pelvic floor muscles. In women who already have some degree of prolapse or incontinence, this habit makes things worse, and when the pelvic floor weakens, urinary control deteriorates. And with it comes more moisture, and with moisture comes odor. The bathroom should be functional. Go in, do what needs to be done, leave. That is not strictness, that is protection. The fifth habit is so straightforward that it seems impossible it could cause a problem: not drying the intimate area thoroughly after bathing or showering. And yet, many women dry their bodies quickly, pass the towel briefly over the genital region, and put on underwear while the skin is still damp. That residual moisture, repeated day after day, creates exactly the same favorable conditions we have already discussed: warm, damp, ready for bacterial and fungal growth. Proper drying should be done with gentle movements, front to back, without rubbing, using a clean, dry towel. Taking 30 extra seconds at this moment can prevent weeks of discomfort. The sixth habit is directly connected to the previous one, but deserves to be addressed with the full weight it carries: reusing damp towels repeatedly without washing them often enough. There is a very common belief that the towel used after a shower is clean, because after all, you just washed yourself. But that is not quite accurate. A damp towel hung in an enclosed bathroom, an environment naturally full of steam, heat, and airborne particles, begins to accumulate microorganisms within hours. Fungi, bacteria, residue from dead skin cells. And when that towel is used again the next day, and the day after, and the day after that, it stops being a cleaning tool and becomes a vehicle for contamination. When that towel comes into contact with the intimate area, which after 60 already has reduced natural defenses, the risk of microbial imbalance is real and documented. The recommendation is to change your intimate towel every 2 to 3 days at most, wash it at a temperature that effectively eliminates accumulated microorganisms, and never share it with anyone else. It sounds excessive until the moment it doesn't anymore. The seventh habit has deep cultural roots and is tied to the way many women were raised, holding urine for long periods of time. There is an entire generation of women who were taught not to go to the bathroom too often, to hold it, not to interrupt whatever they were doing. And this habit, carried for decades, has concrete consequences. Urine retained for too long encourages bacterial growth inside the bladder itself, and when that urine is finally released, it can carry a concentration of compounds that alter the local odor. Beyond that, the habit of holding urine, combined with the pelvic floor weakness so common after menopause, increases the risk of involuntary leakage when the pressure finally builds to a peak. The medical guidance is straightforward. Go to the bathroom when you feel the urge, without forcing or delaying. The bladder is a muscle that deserves to be respected, not overridden. The eighth habit is perhaps the most serious of all, not because of what it involves directly, but because of what it represents in terms of neglecting your own body, ignoring signs of changed discharge, persistent irritation, or odor that does not improve with basic care. Many women, out of shame, out of assuming it is just part of aging, out of fear of what they might find out, postpone the medical visit indefinitely, and while they wait, an untreated bacterial vaginosis can progress. A yeast infection can become recurrent. A urinary infection can travel upward toward the kidneys, and what could have been simple to resolve ends up requiring longer and more complex treatment. Intimate odor that does not improve with proper hygiene is a signal the body is sending, and signals from the body deserve attention, not silence. There is one more dimension to this problem that is rarely addressed, and that I believe is essential to understanding why so many women arrive at proper care so late. The culture of silence around the aging female body. For decades, the body of the older woman has been treated as a minor subject, something to be kept quiet, hidden, not discussed. The changes of menopause have been normalized in a way that sometimes borders on abandonment. It's normal. It's age. Learn to live with it. But living with discomfort is not the same as accepting the inevitable. Care is possible. Habit adjustments make a real difference. There are professionals prepared to talk about this without judgment. What is often missing is the information, presented clearly without excessive euphemism, without condescension, with genuine respect for the intelligence and experience of these women. Intimate hygiene for women after 60 is not a minor topic. It is a matter of health, quality of life, self-esteem, and freedom. The woman who feels comfortable in her own body visits her doctor more consistently, takes care of herself with greater attention, and moves through life with more ease. And small routine adjustments, the direction of wiping, the time spent in damp underwear, the choice of soap, how often towels are changed, have the power to completely transform that experience. No amount of shame is worth more than your health. No silence protects better than knowledge. And that is exactly why this channel exists, to bring you, clearly and without judgment, the information that medicine holds and that should reach every woman, regardless of age, regardless of where she lives, regardless of whether she has easy access to a good specialist. If you made it to the end of this video, you already know more about your own body than most people around you. Use that knowledge. Review your habits. Notice what can be adjusted. And if there is a persistent sign that does not improve with these changes, an odor that continues, a different kind of discharge, an irritation that won't go away, see a gynecologist. Not tomorrow, not when you get around to it. Now, subscribe to this channel because in the coming videos I will keep bringing exactly this kind of content. Medical documentaries about the female body, about aging, about the subjects women need to understand, but that almost nobody explains properly. Every video is one piece of a larger story, and you are going to want to be here for all of it. Share this video with someone you know needs to hear this. Sometimes the right information arrives through the right person. Today, that person might be you,